Agent Romanoff. You miss me?
Oh yeah, Charles, we got ourselves an X-Men fan.
Captain.
Your Highness.
Captain, big fan, Spider-Man. Hey everyone.
Hey guys, and welcome to Film Artsy, your number one source for all things films and movies. And recently we've gotten a really unique interview coming from Mark Ruffalo himself, worrying that he might actually end up getting fired from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now this interview actually comes from just a few days ago, actually coming directly from Variety magazine in a bit of a longer profile that he was involved in. So we wanted to talk about Mark Ruffalo's character, the future of the MCU with him as the Incredible Hulk, and if whether or not his reasoning for being worried is something that would actually be valid. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Now first and foremost, one really interesting thing about this overall story and the fact that Mark Ruffalo said in a Variety magazine, quote, "Yeah, every time I'm whining, like, how long are we waiting for the setup?" And then I'm like, hey, remember, you're not even supposed to be here. Now that's a really interesting perspective that he obviously has in this context, but if we remember way back to when the Marvel Cinematic Universe actually initially started, we saw that Bruce Banner wasn't originally played by Mark Ruffalo to begin with. It was actually Edward Norton. Mark Ruffalo actually wasn't even casted as the Incredible Hulk until 2012's Avengers, and then since then has become a staple in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And actually, there's kind of this really interesting thing where the Incredible Hulk is one of the most recasted characters that Marvel has had in just the course of all the movie adaptations. Pretty much right up there with Spider-Man almost at this point. Originally, there was a 2003 release of The Hulk, which all the way back in 2003 had Eric Bana playing the character, and then when 2008 came around, we saw the start of the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man, and just a few months later, we saw The Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, and the crossover of the MCU kind of became official, but interestingly enough, that 2008 movie actually served somewhat as a spiritual sequel to the Eric Bana movie, where while you could watch The Incredible Hulk without seeing Eric Bana's movie, that first movie in 2008 didn't actually go through the origin story of Bruce Banner because they had just done it 5 years earlier in the 2003 movie, so instead there were kind of some flashbacks and some loose ties connecting it to the 2003 movie, with the setup in the beginning of the movie taking place where the last one ended off. Of course, all of the cast was replaced, so it was really interesting that while the MCU does obviously get noted as starting when the first Iron Man movie came out, perhaps there were some ties even going a little bit further back than that. So even though Mark Ruffalo is obviously the most beloved and staple member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe for the Incredible Hulk, it is interesting that he still feels like he's stepping into this character rather than him always being this character to begin with. Matter of fact, Mark Ruffalo went on in the interview to even say this, quote, "Right, I just remember to be grateful because I still can't believe it. I still keep thinking they're going to throw me out of the club. I never belonged here in the first place, and they're all going to find out." Now, this is often actually a very common occurrence that not only actors have, but a lot of people in several different professions have whenever either they land that job in a really great position or you land a role in a movie at something at a super high level. A lot of actors have talked about this in interviews, so it's no surprise that Mark Ruffalo deals with those feelings sometimes as well, but it's kind of one of those reasons that so many people love Mark Ruffalo as an actor, because for the most part, he's very honest, transparent, and of course humble when it comes to the success that he's had as an actor. Now, interestingly enough, Mark Ruffalo's also talked a bit about how while he takes on this role of this character, he probably will never get to star in a standalone Hulk movie in the way that we got to see the other previous actors who jumped on to the role. In 2015, he had an interview where he talked a little bit about how Marvel and Universal really don't get along and they couldn't find a way to ever make a deal that would allow for a standalone Hulk movie. And then in 2017, he was even more explicit about it, talking about how that he was pretty confident that a standalone Hulk movie would probably never happen, mostly because of the fact that Marvel and Universal can't seem to cooperate with one another. It's another one of those really tough stalemates, such as the Spider-Man situation with Sony, except it seems like Universal doesn't even want to consider whatever deal Marvel pitched. We don't know if it's a great deal or not, but it still was really interesting because we've seen this character grow and change over the years, and they've really only been able to use him in the side character type of way. And honestly, Marvel's done a really good job at just making the best of the situations and growing the character. Now, also during that 2017 interview, Mark Ruffalo actually talked about how he felt like he was getting too old to play the Hulk, and he felt like he only has a few more years left as this character. Of course, we don't have any confirmation of anything necessarily coming in the future, but it's very obvious that Mark Ruffalo isn't done with this character just yet, and it's very possible that Marvel might be planning on keeping him involved in the MCU for quite some time. There's definitely a lot of different possibilities as to where they can go with the character, especially seeing the evolution and growth that this character has had in more recent years. While maybe back in 2017, before Avengers Infinity War and Endgame, even Thor Ragnarok had really kind of settled in, and we got to see the newer arc of Bruce Banner, it was kind of one of those characters that nobody really knew what they were going to end up choosing to do with it, and instead they developed the character very well. Now also, we know that there's going to be a She-Hulk Disney Plus show coming sometime in the future, and we do expect Bruce Banner and Mark Ruffalo to somehow have some sort of involvement in the show in one way or another, whether it's a small role or maybe a recurring role. It'll be interesting to see what ends up happening in that. And then of course, with all of the big news surrounding Doctor Strange and of course Spider-Man 3 and these multiverses coming out, maybe we'll see some old actors of the Incredible Hulk make a cameo appearance. Now, nothing's been stated explicitly yet, but it would be something really interesting to see nonetheless. So what do you guys think about Mark Ruffalo as the Incredible Hulk? Do you think it's time for him to retire, or do you think Marvel is planning on firing him? Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for more videos like this, and we'll see you all next time with a brand new video.
I'm about to.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hi.
See you guys.